Good morning, everybody. Glad to be back on this Saturday morning. My name is Ed Samuel. I'm a career coach with a firm called Sam Nova. We're based in Kennett Square, PA, and serve clients in the greater Philadelphia area and across the U.S. This morning we're going to focus on something called the applicant tracking system and the do's and don'ts of working through these systems when applying for jobs online. And I'm really pleased to have a special guest and a friend, Lynne Williams, here, who's a career management and job search author and speaker and founder of a nonprofit group called Greater Careers of Philadelphia, to help us kind of answer some of these questions regarding that many of you might have regarding applicant tracking systems. So, Lynne, good to have you here this morning.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Oh, this is such a good thing. Let's kind of kick things off, Lynne, and maybe what you could do is, before we dive into applicant tracking systems, maybe you can give the audience some insight into your background leading up to what you do today and to help those, especially in job transition.
Sure. I consider myself a lifelong learner, as I love learning and teaching. I was formerly a K-12 teacher, and I actually taught high school students how to do resumes, cover letters, etc. I was in transition about 6 years ago, and I attended a whole bunch of meetings and workshops and networking events, and I actually started volunteering to hone in on my craft, where I reinvented myself in my area of passion, which is helping people in career transition and with career management. I used to write IEPs and GIEPs for special ed and gifted and talented students, and now I write resumes and LinkedIn profiles. One of my articles that I published in 2014 actually turned into a chapter in a book, and the book is called Find Your Fit, A Practical Guide to Landing the Job You'll Love. And the cool thing about that is the foreword was written by Dick Bowles, who wrote the book, What Color's Your Parachute? And there were also 15 other career coaches that were involved in that book. So I've been working in this field of career services for about 6 years now. Wonderful.
So, Lynne, can you explain to the audience, what, an applicant tracking system is and the various types that are out there? And is there one or two tools that tend to be more prominent than the others?
Well, as far as the applicant tracking system, I think a lot of job seekers call it the black hole because they feel that they apply to jobs online and their resumes disappear. But basically, the applicant tracking system is a software application, and it helps with the recruitment process through electronic handling of resumes. What it does is helps filter applications based on given criteria of keywords, education, years of experience, skills, former employers, etc. And there are some free and open source applicant tracking system softwares that are available. A couple of the big ones that are not free, maybe you've heard of Taleo, or is it Taleo? I don't even know how you pronounce that. Greenhouse Software, Homegrown, iSIMS, JobVite, and there's a whole bunch more.
Wow. I think when I was at W.L. Gore, we used Taleo. I know at least that's what we use there. Now, why should a person applying for a job online need to worry about these ATS systems?
Well, as I mentioned before, a lot of job seekers think it's the black hole. People worry about this because their resumes may never be seen by recruiters' eyes. What happens is when the resume goes up into the software, there's something called a parser, which is going to read the resume. It's going to not just read keywords, but it's going to read via contextualization. Now, what that means is it's going to read whole phrases, words before and after the keywords. And the parser then assigns or the software then assigns the resume a mathematical score. So the idea is to get matchy-matchy in between the job description and your resume. And if you don't have a certain percentage that's matchy-matchy with the keywords, then that's where it goes into that infamous black hole where recruiters never get to see the end result.
So, Lynne, what are the common mistakes that people make when they're submitting resumes, online into these applicant tracking systems? What are some of the common things that people have to really be worried about?
There's a whole bunch of things that people really have to take a look at. And if people go to my LinkedIn profile in my publication section or in my articles section, they can actually read one of the articles that I wrote that highlights all these particular things to look out for. So here's some bunch of tips here. You want to remove all images and graphics from your resume because they're not readable. You got to get rid of logos and pictures. You also have to make sure that you got the right font size. From all the reading and synthesizing I have done with lots of articles, I have found that Arial 12-point font is the best one that seemed to be mentioned in all of the articles. Now, you can have your pretty resume, which is different than the deconstructed resume where you take out all the formatting. These are two totally different things. So you can change your pretty resume to this deconstructed resume in the Arial 12-point font before you upload it. Another thing is people try to hide verbiage in white text. And just like you can highlight a word and turn it into red or green or purple or blue, you can highlight text and turn it into white. So people might copy the job description at the end of a resume, and that's not a nice thing to do. That's kind of a little bit devious. You also don't want to have special characters, no check marks, no arrows. The only thing that I found out was the solid black bullet points. You don't want shading, no fancy borders, no borders around the page, no lines across the page, no section breaks. You got to watch for spelling errors. You don't want to write anything in headers or footers. You want to make sure the dates of your employment are after the employer's name. Put it in a Word document or in rich text format rather than a PDF, because some PDFs, are not readable. They're images. They're not scannable. You don't want to submit multiple times to the same job. That looks like you got a little desperation going on. You also want to use your jargon that is typical for your industry so that it highlights your areas of expertise. You want to call typical resume sections, like the sections that are broken down on LinkedIn. Those would be, appropriate section titles. You want job descriptions. Instead of job descriptions, you want to have a bullet pointed list of quantifiable achievements. And also, it's really good to use keyword or text analyzers to check out your verbiage before you load it up to the applicant tracking system.
Lynne, how about people who like to bold certain words on resumes? Is a bold something you'd say to do or not to do?
I take out bold. I take out caps. I take out every single formatting thing other than solid black bullet points. A lot of people put stuff in tables. I take out tables and columns and just make everything left justified in one column.
Lynne, how hard is it to take let's say, a pretty resume or a formatted resume that people use and deconstruct it into this simple uploadable resume? How can an average person do that using Word, or do they need to?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. I do all my resumes in Word, and we as resume writers, you write resumes too. We all have our own style, and I use a research-based style. And that particular format honestly takes me at the most 12 to 15 minutes to deconstruct.
Well, okay, so about 12 to 15 minutes.
But it depends on how fancy the resume is, and how many blocks and, if graphic artists are involved making all these pretty things on resumes, I'm sure it might take a little bit longer.
Well, that's a great way of explaining all the different areas. Now, what tools exist out there to help you get through these ATS systems? And you had mentioned, there's a certain percentage you have to hit. Is it 70%, 80%, 90%? And how much do these systems cost people to use?
Well, I use a couple different systems. The first one I always use because it's free is wordart.com. I love importing words into WordArt because it tells me exactly how many words there are being used in the job description. Once I look at and analyze the WordArt words and I try to re-wordsmith these words in somebody's resume, then the next step would be for the person to use jobscan.co. I absolutely love JobScan. It is just a phenomenal tool, but there is a price to it. You can get 1 month for free, and then I believe it's around $89.95 for 3 months after the trial, or maybe $49.95 if you decide just to use it for a month. But it really is a phenomenal tool, and they've added so many bells and whistles, and you can what it does is it tells you how many skills were matched, what skills are missing, and it'll tell you the percentage match between your resume and a job description. Now, they're telling, I think, 80% they want to see matched, but here's the bad news, folks. There are humans in the human resources departments, and they set parameters, or they can set parameters. So if, for example, you have 112 people applied to the same job, and they say, okay, we need to set the parameters. Instead of 95% match, we need to take it to like a 98% match. And then they run it again. And if there are 34 people at that 98% match, then they're going to have to run it again at 99% match. So you may have a very high match rate, but again, when you got humans involved setting parameters, you have no guarantees of anything.
So, Lynn, so what I'm trying to understand is that this job scan, it sounds like there's a left side and a right side, and that the person applying for a job, you have to kind of load your resume on one side, and then the job description of what you're trying to apply on the other side?
That's correct. And it analyzes it and compares it, and it tells you what skills are missing, which ones are matched, and what you need to do to increase your percentage. And then you go in and you tweak your resume, you do your wordsmithing, and you try to get a higher match.
No, I've heard, maybe, and I've heard this secondhand. I can't vouch for it with it to a specific HR person that I've spoken to, but I heard that if you get 100% match, your resume may be rejected. Is that true, or? I
don't know. That's one of those unknown things. It could be that maybe you were trying to be sneaky and you copied and pasted the job description in white at the end of your resume and uploaded it. But guess what? Color it comes out on the back end. Black on white. So somebody might either say, oh, that is super clever that you did that so that it got through the system. Or they might say, oh, naughty, devious person. We don't want to hire anybody that has those ethics. So that's a 50-50. But really, they may have internal candidates or employee referrals. So, it doesn't matter how good you match. There might be something else going on there that you don't know about. But
you do bring up a really good point, though. So just from a pure ethical standpoint, your resume is your resume, and it's a person's best story, and you shouldn't be modifying it to such an extent to, to actually create something that you're really not.
Exactly.
Right.
You need to be honest and truthful and, say what you did and how well you did it, and forget about trying to be sneaky with copying the job description.
Well, if somebody sat down and they apply, they wanted to apply for a job, they were using JobScan, they have their resume, they have this job description. How long does it take, an average person to sit down and actually start to make these changes to their resume? Is it a 15-minute? Is it an hour? Is it just a couple of minutes?
I don't really know. If you use the tools, it's more about quality than quantity. And if you really think about it, the 80-20 rule, you want to spend, the time where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck. So yes, you need to apply online. Yes, there's amazing technology tools that will help you, but you really got to get out there and network. People hire people. It's not machines or bots that hire people. You have to build that know, like, and trust. So get out there and network.
So the message here is that you can use this tool, but it's really something that you can't 100% rely on or get so focused in on that you miss the whole opportunity to network. And it sounds like if you're spending hours and hours or weeks of effort on using this tool, then you're missing the whole boat.
Honestly, I would not spend more than 10, maybe 15%, 20 max of your time doing online applications. You got to get out and meet people.
Great. So part of that 10 or 20% is inclusive of using JobScan or using a tool like this to get through the applicant tracking system.
Yeah, I would say so.
I talked to a person a couple of months ago. He said, hey, Ed, I applied for a job at Comcast as just an example. And I went and I kind of modified my resume to get through JobScan. And then another job popped up, a different department, different job description. And I went and I modified that job description, or my resume to meet that job description. And now a third one's coming up. But yet, I'm a little worried because when I went in to register my name, they asked me to upload a resume. I only had the resume to begin with, my original resume. I uploaded it, but now I'm applying for these jobs, and I'm using JobScan to kind of start to modify my resume. So I'm a little worried that Comcast actually has 4 versions of my resume, the original one that I uploaded, and then for these 3 jobs that I applied for, I actually have kind of a modified version using JobScan. So they might have 4 versions of me out there. Is that okay? And is there anything that I should, could be advising those people?
Hopefully the resumes that are uploaded are not too terribly different. In my humble opinion, if you are going for a job, you need to hyper-focus. You need to really hone in on what it is that you want to be when you grow up. So your resume should not change too terribly much. Some of the keywords might change based upon the job description because you might not have put certain skills that you do have in your original resume that might apply to a particular job. But your past history is your past history. That should not change. If you think about a resume, it's the top of the fold. What's with the top of the newspaper? It's the headline, right? That's what you're going to buy. So when people are actually looking at resumes, it's the top of the fold, and that's what they're going to look at for if there's changes in keywords or description, that might more closely match your job description.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that 95% of that resume should they should all look the same in that example. In terms of the core should look basically the same, and there might be some nuances in terms of the competencies and the keywords or the header.
Exactly, your value proposition, your title. And the keywords key titles at the top, and the skills, which I call core competencies. Those might change a little bit as you apply to each job. But your past history is your past history. Your education is your education. Your volunteer work is your volunteer work. None of that changes.
Gotcha. As I think about this the technology that's changing continuously, what's happening in this ATS technology arena? Is there anything that you've heard about, or that's going to be coming at us, or going to get even more sophisticated?
Yeah, there's AI. Artificial intelligence is coming strong. It gets involved in parsing and matching, posting to aggregating, and it does filtering in literally milliseconds with various scoring algorithms. It's just crazy.
Wow. How does the average person keep up?
Well,
how do you keep up?
Oh my goodness, I can't keep up. I mean, I learn something new every day. The more I learn, the more I realize I don't know. So you just have to keep reading. You have to keep watching YouTube videos, and and keep going to see speakers and learning from everybody. You could be a lifelong learner.
Great. Hey, if we were to summarize, can you give us maybe 5 or so principles that you would want the audience to remember when it comes to ATS systems?
Sure. First one would be you need to know the difference between uploading versus attaching a resume. So the applicant tracking system, the key word is uploading. And that way you would be uploading your deconstructed resume that has the no formatting in it. When you get to the end of the application, you may actually have a chance to attach that resume. And that would be your pretty resume that is all formatted and maybe has some shading or something on it. But you want the parser to read the deconstructed resume. Number 2 is definitely use great tools like WordArt and jobscan.co. Those are very helpful so that you can analyze your keywords. Number 3, I would say definitely deconstruct your resume to take out all the formatting and use the 12-point Arial font. Number 4, spend about 10 to 15% of your time applying online. And number 5, get out and network your way to your next job, as people hire people, not machines or robots. So get out there and work to build the know, like, and trust.
Great. Well, Lynne, thank you so much. I know you're a board member and one of the founders or leader of Greater Philly Careers. How can a person contact you? What's the best way to reach you? They want to know more information. The
actual organization's name is Philadelphia Area Great Careers Group. And we have a new website, which is at www.greatcareers with an S, PHL, like the Philadelphia Airport.org. And you can join our meetup group from there. We have almost 4,100 members. We're in 6 counties plus Delaware and growing. We have 15 chapters. We're about to have 16 in another month or so. And we also have a couple membership options where you'll get incredible value with lots of goodies for participating and supporting this 501c3 all volunteer nonprofit.
Beautiful. Well, Lynne, thanks again for coming in. What a wealth of knowledge, and we'll be talking to you again soon. Okay, thank you. And if anybody wants to connect with me on LinkedIn, it's linkedin.com/in/Lynne Williams, and Lynne is with an E because E stands for education. Okay. Well, hey, we're just about out of time. Please join us again at our next Optimize Your Career program on Saturday, June 15th. Our topic will be negotiating job offers. We will also have a special guest joining us, Robin Bond, a prominent employment attorney. This is Ed Samuel, career coach with Sam Nova. Our website is www.samnovainc.com. If you'd like to reach us with a question or comment, please email esamuel@samnovainc, SAMNOVAINC.com, or call our main number at 610-274-8214. So make it a great weekend. So long for now, and God bless.